Welcome back to Crash Command Crash Course. In the previous episode, we went over the features of Crash Command and the overall goals of the current playtesting sessions. In this episode, we will be going over how to set up the three core parts of the game: the players and their mechs, the Terminus, and the Invaders. Player Mech Setup. At the heart of Crash Command are the player mechs. Each mech available for play has a unique team role, playstyle, and theme. The player mechs are contained in their individual mech packs located above the board. To help you choose, the player mechs have been separated into three groups. Striders, fragile mechs that focus on speed and support. Marauders, easy to play mechs that focus on offense. Vanguards, tough mechs that focus on crowd control and survivability. Each mech pack also has a stat radar on its front to help you choose. The stat radar rates a mech's complexity, offense, durability, support, range, and mobility. If you are new to the game, we recommend picking a mech with a low complexity rating. As part of setup, each player should pick a mech for play. In addition, each player will need a function mat and a cheat sheet located to the top right of the board. Once you have moved your mech pack, function mat, and cheat sheet to your play area, you can continue setup by taking out all of the items in your mech pack. Each pack should always contain the following items: one mech placard, which contains key information about your mech. One mech figurine, which represents your mech on the board. 3 duo dice, which can help you keep track of your mech's duo rating. The standard and personal supply decks, which have blue and gray backing respectively. 1 HP counter, which can help you keep track of your mech's hit points. If your mech pack has items other than the ones listed, take them out as well. Next, you will need to place your starting equipment card into the leftmost slot of your function. By default, the starting equipment card is labeled as such and should be the top card of your standard deck. To finish setting up your mech, shuffle your standard deck and draw 6 cards to form your starting hand. Terminus Setup. In each game of Crash Command, your team is tasked with defending and charging the Terminus. The Terminus itself is an alien superweapon of untold power spanning the west side of the board. As part of setup, your team should collectively choose a Terminus layout to play with. The Terminus has 2 main components, the teal silos and the purple pylons. Each Terminus layout will show you where to place the silos and pylons and how many of each should be placed into each space. If you are new to the game, we recommend playing with Layout 1. Once the Terminus has been set up, you and your teammates should place your mechs into the green starting spaces facing east. At this point in time, both the Terminus and the players have been set up and are ready for play. Invader Army Setup. Up against the players are the Invader armies, corporate wetwork teams led by the imposing commanders. As part of setup, your team should collectively choose an Invader army for play. If you are new to the game, we recommend beginning with the easiest Invader army, the Steel Legion. Once you have selected an Invader army for play, you can begin taking items out of their Invader pack. For reference, each pack should always contain the following items: 1 Commander figurine, which represents the commander on the board. 1 Army Extra info placard, which contains additional rules for the army, as well as its initial deployment. Grunt cards and commander cards, which are used by the Invader army to perform actions. 3 grunt placards, which contain basic information about the Invader grunts. As part of setup, place the commander figurine into the space labeled CO on the board, facing west. Then, place the extra info placard into its snap point below the grunt order row, and the grunt placards into their snap points above the commander function. Afterwards, using the center diagram on the back of the extra info placard, deploy the starting grunts onto the board. The letter indicates which type of grunt is to be placed into each space, with the S's using the hexagonal tiles, the M's using square tiles, and the Ls using triangular tiles. As you are placing down the initial grunts, set the HP of each grunt to their starting values, as indicated on their respective placards. You can do this by stacking additional tiles on top of each grunt, with each tile being equal to 1 additional HP. After the initial grunts have been deployed, flip the extra info placard back over. Next, separate out the grunt cards and the commander cards. For the grunt cards, find the 4 cards with the letter U inside of the yellow triangle and place them into the grunt order row. Flip these cards over, then arrange the cards from highest to lowest, left to right, using the number inside of the small yellow diamond. Then, shuffle the remaining grunt cards and place them into the grunt card holders, using the number inside of the yellow triangle on each card. For the commander cards, find the card with the letter U on the top left, and place that card into the leftmost slot in the commander function. Afterwards, set the HP of that card equal to the current number of players. Then, set up the rest of the commander's function by moving counters out of the other slots, with the number of counters moved also equal to the current number of players. Last, shuffle the remaining commander cards and place them into the commander card holders, using the number on the top left of each card. At this point in time, the invaders have been set up for play and the game is ready to start. To recap, once you have finished setup, each player should have chosen a mech and taken a function mat and a cheat sheet. In addition, the terminus should have been set up according to the layout that was chosen, with your team's mechs placed into the starting spaces. Last, the invader army should have been set up in the center of the table. With the placards laid out, the commander and the initial grunts placed on the board, the 4 starting grunt cards in the grunt order row, the starting commander card in the leftmost slot, the commander function opened up, and the remaining grunt and commander cards placed into their card holders. That's all for this episode. In the next episode, we will be covering a few essential topics and global rules before we start the game.